I want to talk about this little thing that I saw here, because this shit was hilarious. So this is a comedian from Iran named Bassem Youssef. I'm actually taking this from Sam Cedar's show here. So at roughly 106 in this video that I'm about to show you. Who is Bassem Youssef? I have never heard of this guy before. I think I'm going to go look him up after this because he's hilarious. He's a comedian from Iran, and he went on Piers Morgan's show last week because Piers Morgan did a hour-long video with Ben Shapiro. And they talked about, of course, the war going on between Hamas and Israel, in which, at this point, as of this video recording, somewhere around 8,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed. 8,000. I mean, I don't think anybody out there can justify the murder of 8,000 civilians. I don't see... Yes, okay, the terrorist attack they did was bad. That was bad. Hamas went and murdered civilians and stuff. And it's bad. And we all condemn Hamas doing this. Nobody out there in their right mind who is going to support the murder of civilians in the way that Hamas did. But I think we can all agree that dropping bombs on civilian non-combatants, I think we could all agree that is not a good thing either, and that that should not be allowed, and that the Israeli response to that terrorist attack is essentially war crimes, and that the 8,000 people who have been murdered, they didn't deserve this either. Right. I think we can all agree, at the very least, no matter what your politics are, no matter what side you support, no matter where you're from, I think we can all agree that murdering civilians is a bad thing. Can we agree that? Can we all agree to that, please? That it's not good to drop bombs on people? That the people that are forced to live in this 25-mile sort of prison, they don't deserve to be murdered because some terrorists went out and shot a bunch of people. No. Can we all agree that that's bad, right? That it's not a good thing to drop bombs on children. And let's also remember that 8,000 is just an estimate. In real life, we have no idea how many people have died. They've leveled entire city blocks. They've destroyed entire apartment buildings. There is probably 3 times that many people actually dead and buried under tons and tons of rubble right now. Can we all agree that that's not a good thing? So anyway, I do want to show you here this interview because this particular comedian sums it up in a way that I think that many of us are just not capable and unwilling to go there. I guess I could put it that way. It's also deathly hilarious and extremely disturbing at the same time. But let's listen to what the man has to say. So I'll put the video link down in the thing after this so that you guys can watch this for yourself. This is Bassem Youssef on Piers Morgan.
In Israel and Gaza is a TV host and satirist, Bassem Youssef. Bassem, it's great to have you back on the program. I wish it was under different circumstances. First of all, what is your reaction to what happened on October the 7th?
Oh, it was terrible, of course. I mean, we kind of get our news kind of also secondhand because, you know, my wife's family, they live in Gaza. They actually have cousins and uncles there. And their house also was bombed. We haven't been able to communicate with them for the past 3 days. Communication are lost. So we don't know actually what is the how are they doing. But you know, we're used to that. I mean, it's just like it's very repetitive. We're used to that. We're used to them being bombed every time and moving from one place to the other. You know, it's just like those Palestinians. They're very dramatic. Israel killing us. But they never die. I mean, they always come back. You know, they're very difficult to kill, very difficult people to kill. I know because I'm married to one. I tried many times, couldn't kill her.
I mean, there's a dark humor there, and I understand why. Because
No, it's not dark humor. I try to get to her every time, but she uses our kids as human shields. I can never take her out.
Again, I understand the humor, but to be serious, Bassem, about this tonight,
I will be serious. Now, I will be serious. I was watching your interview with Ben Shapiro, and I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I think that Ben Shapiro is one of the smartest people who ever walked this earth. He's very, very smart. I follow him, and I believe everything he said. And when he came on your show, his solution was, and I quote, his solution was that the solution for this is for Israel to annex Gaza and to kill as many son of bitches as possible to make sure that this will never happen again. And anyone who called for a ceasefire will be a terrorist sympathizer. So God forbid, I don't want to be labeled as a terrorist sympathizer. So I agree with Ben Shapiro. I think we should kill as many son of bitches as possible.
Well, let me,
so
okay,
far,
but Bassem,
so far 3,500 people were killed, including 5,000 son of bitches in the bombing of the Baptist hospital as we speak right now. 1/3 of those 3,500 were children. So my question to Ben Shapiro is, how many more son of bitches do we need to kill so Ben Shapiro is happy?
Okay,
because it changes
Bassem,
from 1 year. It changes from one.
Now, of course, the guy isn't really joking. All right. Here's the thing about that. It's funny. All right. You watch this and you chuckle because, oh yeah, they're hard to kill. I'm married to one. I've been trying to kill her, but she always uses our kids as human shields. Like, okay, yeah. It's funny. It's satire, right? It's also true because these are the arguments that the right wing uses. Whenever you talk to somebody like Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk or Matt Walsh or something like that, and they give their fucking idiotic, uninformed, dipshit right-wing opinions when it comes to these things, this is the exact kind of thing that they always say. They always say, like, what are you hearing right now from the right wing? They always say shit like, oh, yeah, Hamas is using human shields. They bombed that hospital because there's a hidden Hamas base in the tunnels underneath the hospital. So they're using the people in that hospital as human shields. Think about that, human shields. You remember South Park? You ever watched Bigger, Longer, Uncut South Park movie? There's a part in that where they have, the army is going to invade Canada, right? And they go, okay, Operation Human Shield. And it's like all of the black soldiers are part of Operation Human Shield. And then it's like they have them, they have them strapped to their tanks and stuff like that too, right? It's silly on its face. Now, I can understand because here's the thing, there probably are tunnels and stuff underneath some of the hospitals, underneath some of the churches. There probably are things like that because the Palestinians have been forced to go underground in order to survive Israeli bombings or whatever. But here's the thing about that. It's like, so what if there are tunnels, right? Like, what if that was actually true, right? Because I mean, to be honest, I don't really know if it's true or not. I don't really know if Hamas has a secret base underneath that hospital that got bombed. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it is. But even if it is, then how are you still justified in bombing the people on top? How are you justified? I mean, do they have like nuclear weapons under there? Doesn't it make more sense that if they actually have a hidden base under the hospital, doesn't it make more sense to actually send some like troops and helicopters in there and storm the base and then kill all the people that way? And then that way all the people in the hospital above who are like, cancer patients and shit, people with no legs, people who are like on respirators, that kind of thing, who will die if you drop a bomb on them. And even if like you don't kill them directly, the power goes out and then there goes the guy's respirator, he's dead. Like, don't you think that it would make more sense to go send an actual strike team of people to engage in a firefight and kill the terrorists rather than drop a bomb and kill everybody all at once? Don't you think that's how you wouldn't want to do it? No, of course not. You know why? Because it's called acceptable losses. And it's only acceptable losses when it's civilians on the other side. You ever notice that? They never say like, oh, American citizens, this many American citizens are acceptable losses. They never say that shit. No. It's always like, oh, well, fucking these are civilians over there. Well, fuck them. Too bad. They were just born in the wrong country, I guess. There are no good guys in war, folks. At all. Every side in a war is at fault. Your side, the good guys, the bad guys, they're all bad. The fight, even the ones with your country on it, they're all bad. Because this is what happens when there's a war. Innocent people get killed. And the good people look the other way. Well, if you're looking the other way, you're no longer a good person. And that's just the goddamn truth. And you know something? I don't care. If you're a soldier, you need to hear that. Because we bullshit ourselves into thinking that what we're doing is right and justified. And we didn't have a choice, and we had to do it. We had to drop those bombs on Hiroshima, right? We had to completely reduce Fallujah to fucking rubble. We had to. We had no choice. We had to go in there and shoot people driving fucking ambulances and shit. And snipe fucking paramedics. No choice. We had to do it. And ultimately, that was, it had to be done. We had to drop that bomb on a hospital in Gaza. No, we didn't, folks. That's the thing about this. This guy can say these things. If somebody who wasn't actually Palestinian were to make these jokes, he'd probably be canceled 17 times from Sunday. And for good reason. This guy gets to say it. And the thing is, it needs to be said because he's 100% right. These are the arguments that right-wingers use all the time. And when you take them at face value, they just seem so ridiculously silly. Let's continue on. There's still a few minutes left.
I'm sorry that listen. I'm really at a disadvantage here. I'm looking at a camera. I don't see you. I can hear you on my.
And the reason I'm interrupting is I think it might be.
I
think you're conflating different interviews with Ben Shapiro. He didn't use the phrase "sons of bitches" with me. Let me play to you what he actually said on my.
He did. Go back to your interview.
No, he didn't. That was another interview. But let me play what he said to me here.
Another interview.
Well, frankly, I don't believe in proportionate response to terrorism. I believe that the way that you stop terrorism is with wildly disproportionate response. That doesn't mean in terms of targeting civilians. It means in terms of killing as many terrorists as humanly possible and allowing them to dictate the terms of engagement by hiding behind civilians in areas that they are supposedly responsible for means that the only option for Israel is to surrender to Hamas's hatred of its own citizens. It's willing.
So, like we just said, folks, he's using them as human shields. Now, in defense of Piers Morgan, in the actual interview, Ben Shapiro didn't say kill as many sons of bitches. But what they did do is they talked about that quote. Ben Shapiro said that in one of his own videos, that they should kill as many sons of bitches as possible. He said that in one of his own videos. He didn't say that in the Piers Morgan interview. But what they did do is they talked about that video that Ben Shapiro said it in. So, in defense of that. But you can kind of see this is Ben Shapiro's argument. His argument is they're using them as a human shield, so we have to kill them. Human shields, folks. Remember, 8,000 people are dead. So 8,000 human shields? Is that what he's trying to say here? What about those people who were fleeing down the corridor that is the Israeli Defense Forces left for them? You know, when they evacuated 1 million people out of their homes from northern Gaza, that's genocide, by the way, right? The forcible displacement of people out of their homes, that is genocide, right? That's exactly what fucking genocide is. When you displace people out of their homes like that, right? But anyway, when they did that, and then they said, oh yeah, you've got, here's this corridor, you can go down this road here, and we won't, you'll be fine. And then they started bombing trucks and shit on that road. Were those people human shields? Were those people fleeing down the road that they told them to flee down? And then when they bombed them, did they bomb them because they were like what? What were they protecting? Were they protecting terrorists? Did they have like terrorists in their trunk or some shit? Am I supposed to fucking believe this? Moving on.
Is to use its own children as human shields. No country worth its salt could ever do that.
Now that is substantively different to what you said he said, right? He's talking there specifically about Hamas terrorists.
I agree with him. the thing is, the question is, what is a proportionate response? Because
Yes.
it has been different from one tier to another. So if you look to this graph, for example, this is the death of Israeli and Palestinians, and it's changing from one year to year. It's like fluctuating like crypto. So my question is today, what is the going rate today for human lives? I mean, 2014 was a great year for Ben Shapiro. 88 Israelis were died, and there was 2,329 Palestinians killed on the other side. That is one Israeli for 27 Palestinians. That is a very good exchange rate. What I'm saying is, what is the exchange rate for today? You guys will be happy. That's my question.
Well, it's not me, guys. I'm not on either side.
No, not you. Like when I say you guys, I say like people on the other side of that. I know that you don't think like that, Piers. You're one of the good guys. But let me tell you something. I mean, the reason that I'm using this is that, I mean, I can't remember what happened in 2014, and there was.
Damn, you're one of the good guys. Damn. You just see, that's another one of the right-wing sort of talking points. Oh, well, they're not all terrorists. There's two of them, one of the good guys. It sounds so ridiculous and silly when you turn that around, doesn't it? You're one of the good guys. It's like, yeah. Nothing like getting a cold fucking bucket of water right in your face there, huh, Piers Morgan? Moving on.
No music festival, but there must be something. I mean, they must do something. It is their fault. It has to be something. I mean, in 2018, 300 Palestinians died. Who's counting? You know. So the thing is, what my question is, let's find what is the exchange rate for human life today, so we expect the future death of Palestinians, and we'll be happy to it.
My response to that would be this, Bassem. I thought carefully about this because I think it's very tricky for people like me to immerse ourselves into a conflict where we're not directly involved. And I thought carefully about what I feel about this. I feel that the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th supersedes anything else I've seen in this conflict, really ever. The savagery, the butchery, the slaughter of 1,300 people, the shooting of babies, the
100%.
Kidnapping of grandmothers, and so on. So if we can agree on that, which I think is inarguable, then the question then becomes, again, about proportion. I don't disagree that there's been a lot of bad stuff on both sides going back historically for decades. But if we agree that this was on a different level altogether, quite deliberately by Hamas, designed to provoke. Here's my question. Let me ask you a question. And the question, because you raised it earlier about proportion. I honestly don't know what the proportionate response is. I honestly don't. I don't. I've been watching the airstrikes this week thinking.
So what's your question?
Well, I would ask you, if you were Israel, what would you?
If I was Israel.
If you were Israel and that had happened to you, what would you think would be the appropriate way for the country to respond?
I would do exactly like Israel did, kill as many people as possible, since the world is letting me do it. I mean, I can do it because I can, you know. But the thing is, you know what? I agree with you. And you know what? I'm going to be even ahead of you, because I see the question coming. Do you condemn Hamas for the atrocity? Yes, I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas. Hamas is the source of all evil. They're the reason for everything. And you know what? Let's, for a minute, imagine a world without Hamas.
Right.
What will this word look like? Let's give this word a name, and let's name this word the West Bank. Hamas has absolutely no control in the West Bank, and since the beginning of this year, only through August, 37 Palestinian kids were killed. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. Since the occupation of the West Bank, 7,000 Palestinians were killed. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. I can go on and on and on and on.
No, but you don't.
Good point there, folks, huh? He's absolutely 100% correct. In the West Bank, 7,000 people dead, no terrorist attacks. The West Bank is, remember, that's where the basically the settlers are going in and stealing people's houses and shit. You know, what they'll do is they'll walk in, they'll like murder and kill people, they'll fucking light someone's house on fire, they'll get a court order to go bulldoze somebody's house, something like that. And then, like, the cops will be there, and the cops won't do anything unless, like, the Palestinian guy tries to defend himself. Shit like that. That's been going on in the West Bank for decades. And there was no corresponding terrorist attack. There was no music festival attack. There was nothing like that. 7,000 people have been killed over there. No one does anything about it. It happens all the time. We never hear anything about that in our news. It's never front page news. If you ever hear anything about it, it's usually an article that no one ever reads, and then it's gone out of the news the next day. It's sort of like, yeah, sometimes you need comedy in order to bring these issues up, kind of like in the Middle Ages, where you had the court jester was allowed to actually criticize the king. They were actually allowed to say things that other people would get beheaded for. That's what comedians, I think that's using your powers for good. I think that's a great thing. And like this guy, he reminds me a lot of Jon Stewart, reminds me a lot of, Trevor Noah, something like that. Even Sam Cedar, to some extent. Sam Cedar is a comedian too, uses his comedy to further along political causes, that kind of thing. Stephen Colbert does the same thing. Kind of reminds me of that. It's like, yes, this dude is basically throwing a fucking bucket of cold water in the face of everybody who watched that show right there. Because we take these, when you hear these arguments over and over and over, the terrorists, blah, 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 and Israel's right to defend itself and that kind of thing, and that they're all animals and whatever, and they're using civilians as human shields. When you hear these arguments and they're never challenged, it's very easy to just take them at face value. And when you just think about them for half a fucking second, you realize how silly they actually are. And sometimes the best way to do that, sometimes the best way to get that through people's heads is to use comedy. So this guy, Bassem Youssef, I applaud this dude. And I think I'm going to look up his actual comedy. Of course, it'll probably be in Arabic or whatever, so I probably won't understand it. I don't know, maybe there'll be subtitles.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.